blowing through the palm trees, and it softly caresses your face and body. The moon is full, and the shimmering pale white moonlight showers you with its powerful moon energy as moonbeams dance upon the ebony water surrounding you. As you walk along the beach, with the waves gently kissing your feet and the ocean singing to you, you look to the heavens, and you see the most wondrous, brilliant star. As you gaze upon this twinkling star, you see it fall suddenly into the water, and in a flash of light, a beautiful, perfect dolphin emerges from that very spot. And in an instant, your heart and mind know that this magic being came to you from the heavens above. The dolphin calls in a language not of words, but of the heart. It is an easy, joyous communication, welcoming you to approach and enter the water. Excitingly you do so, finding the water warm and soothing. As you greet one another, and you look into the dolphin's eyes, you see the universe itself reflected there. You feel at peace and loved. It's a union and a reunion. You remember, and you're connected. Such joy and love you have for your new friend and guide. You take hold of the dolphin's fin, and she gently swims with you. You feel totally safe and protected as you both now go beneath the surface of the water, deeper and deeper and deeper. How beautiful this underwater world is. You could stay here forever, surrounded by colored fish, coral, sea, and plant life of every description. And in the distance, you see a crystal cave, just for you. You and your guide effortlessly glide toward this cave, so inviting. And as you enter the cave, you find it has many, many rooms of many colors. Red, orange, purple, green, blue, yellow. Each is healing, and you choose the color you need. Or you may choose to visit each room. You're like a sponge, absorbing the vibration, the energy of all the beautiful colors. You may stay here as long as you wish. And when you're ready to leave, you see that your dolphin friend has been patiently waiting for you, and she now accompanies you to the surface. You float silently upward and upward and upward, and emerge from the water healed and whole. You bid farewell to each other, thanking this magnificent celestial being for her love and energy and for this healing journey. And in your heart, you know that she will always, always be with you. Welcome. Edge of Heaven, talk show, metaphysics. Here we are. Thank you.
Woo.
Jay Goodman Incorporated. We are in town. You know,
Yes,
one of the things, you know, that we really see and the importance of is the communication of information, right? I mean, that's what we on the radio. You know, you try to get as much information out from the community in that interaction. So. You know, the what we were talking about is, you know, the astral projections, right?
Right.
Leaving your body with a consciousness. You know, astral projection is the out of body experience, OBEs, in which consciousness through an astral body or body of light separates from the physical body to travel in the astral plane. And a phenomenon described often spiritual practices. But is interesting, is not recognized by science. Okay, now that's an interesting thing, because I think more if we looked at this, what we would see when that aspect of more recognized by science, because the guy's going to maybe be having a surgery and he's be out and he's going to have the experience himself because, okay, I'm science, I'm recognizing this experience, right? But or as to whatever it is. But the gentleman in it is Monroe. Right? Did you ever read any of like, he's one of the first guys? Is that familiar to you?
Monroe?
Yeah, his last name is Monroe.
What year?
Probably in the Monroe. There's Astral Projection Monroe Institute, Astral Projection Monroe Method, and this guy. And this Robert Monroe, okay, and this in simple English kind of a thing, and it's working to eliminate the fear of astral projection, relaxation techniques. It's a vibrational. So the Monroe method for astral projection is a 7-step process that involves deep relaxation, entering a hypnagogic state, like a hypnotic
Yeah.
state, inducing and controlling vibrational sensations, and finally achieving separation from the physical body to an out-of-body state of mentality, rolling out or floating up. The Monroe Institute developed this technique, which kind of goes on, which uses specialized audio technology called hemisync. So you're getting a vibration. Okay, so there's a vibration that is to help individuals reach states of expanded consciousness and facilitate out-of-body experiences. So the first one's relaxation. Okay, begin by deeply relaxing your body and mind while giving yourself the suggestion to remember the experience.
So that's like willful, trying to get out of the body with some type of method, right?
Yeah, it's a 7-step Monroe technique for us to how to do it, right?
Yeah.
But this first part, this relaxation, I know the relaxations I've been through is where you start like with your toes, right?
Yeah.
And you go up the whole body, and and out your fingers. You do the whole volume, your scalp. There's all through this relaxation and this mental thought. And one of my deepest techniques personally of deep relaxation is when you breathe in with Guaiza and you breathe out with Guaiza. That's in your mind. Every time you take a breath in yourself, you say Guaiza, and when you exhale, you Guaiza, and get really calm, and you really pay attention to your breathing because you're saying Guaiza in and Guaiza out.
Yeah.
And so that puts you in the now. You're fully aware of your body in that relaxating state, and you're not thinking about anything else to take your mind away from, as they're saying here, while giving yourself the suggestion to remember the experience. So that would be 3 things. Like, I will remember my out-of-body experience. I will remember my out-of-body experiences. I will remember my out-of-body experiences 3 times, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so then the second one is a hypnagogic
Yeah.
state. Gently guide your awareness to a near sleep state where you are conscious, but your body is asleep. Now, to define that, to how do you know when your body's asleep? And that would be like where you're fully comfortable. Maybe you're on your back, and your palms are on the bed, right? And you're still doing the breathing. You're still doing the relaxation. But in that state, gently guide your awareness to a near sleep state where you're conscious but your body is asleep. Near sleep and sleep.
Mm-hmm.
There's a dash there. I mean, that's something that to think about how you would be able
How
to
you do
obtain
that.
that without going to sleep or not going to sleep, but being a near sleep, so not going to sleep. So, and then 3, deepen relaxation. Continue to relax, allowing your awareness to become more focused. Okay, so continue to relax. So you continue to do your breathing, allowing your awareness to become more focused until sensory awareness of your physical body fades. So there, if you just do your breathing until sensory awareness of your physical body, that's like being in a sensory deprivation tank, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so you're going through, so you're gonna, all your senses are going away. So senses would be your feeling, your sight, your hearing, your smelling. Okay.
That's very interesting you brought that up, because that's a method type of way to get your consciousness out of your body, right?
Right, that's
But
what this is.
most of the stuff that I've been encountering, especially with the local stories, is during cardiac arrest.
In the hospital.
Yeah, in the hospital.
While
yeah,
you're going
where-
through a bypass or
right.
you're having an experience.
Yeah. So most of that's the stories that I hear, from people that I didn't solicit from. It's just they're sharing their experiences. And remember
Right.
what I told you about that
Right.
one individual where we were. She was wearing scrubs, and I said, do you ever hear of any stories, while you're at the hospital? And she goes, no, but I have
tell you
one of my,
mine.
I have one of my own.
Okay.
And she goes, You know, she remembers going into the operating room, and something happened where she came out of her body, and she was watching physically the doctor and the nurses all frantic, and you know, she says, you know, it was a very interesting experience. She didn't know what was going on until like 2 weeks later. She went back and she says, you know, did this happen? Does this happen? And she said that the nurse who was attending to her said, you wouldn't have known that unless you were there in the room,
awake,
consciousness,
yeah.
So you know, that's very interesting. So
now see, that's science. There's nothing more scientific than an operating room.
Right.
Okay.
Right. You know, I mean, you mentioned Monroe.
Lab
but,
work.
Yeah.
No, most of this would be the aspect of her wanting to do it again, without going into cardiac arrest. Right. Is what he fell upon this himself, and then did years and years and years and years of research, and enough to put together an institute. So this relaxation. Okay. So then what happens is, you induce vibrations. You focus on a point in front of your forehead, then extend it to 6 feet away and draw an imaginary line above your head. Reach for the vibrational sensations at this point and mentally guide them into your body. Whoa. Okay. Reach. Okay, so induce. This is induced vibrations number 4. Focus on a point in front of your forehead, then extend it to 6 feet away and draw an imaginary line above your head. Reach for the vibrational sensations at this point and mentally guide them into your body. Then 5, control vibrations. Practice controlling these vibrations by pushing them through your body from head to toe or creating waves of vibration. And then partial separation. To initiate the physical separation, try to extend a limb out of your body as a partial separation, feeling the surrounding environment. Full separation. Mentally roll out of your physical body or imagine yourself floating up and out of the body to fully enter the non-physical realm.
Interesting.
I was there was a gentleman. We went up to Mount Lam Lam, and we did an out of body exercise that he took us out of our bodies. And then I was at over here in Naval Station by Southern, the housing there, and we did an experience to have a last life experience. And so the woman who was the narrator there in the house, we all laid down and then went through this narration. And the interesting thing is, upon what you emerge and visualize and sense, is no mirror. So you just look at your hands, you look at your clothes, you look at your feet, and then where you are. That's, then comes to, you would think, oh, okay, go find a mirror and see what you look like, or this or that. But no, it's just what you're wearing and how you look. And that experience, it was conscious, right? Like what this is. Those are, the ones. And then my other one, near death, like your near death experience, right? Upon no more sensory stop, seeing, hearing, tasting, feeling. And then the birthdays, experiencing past life going in front of you. And so birthdays going down, and then mom and dad, and then red and blue, and then a vortex, spinning out of, and then coming out of the vortex and being greeted with about time you got here. Now, in that thought, am I entering into a realm of reincarnation and being greeted by folks in that sense or that experience? Or am I now at the gateway of being turned around with my back to the essence that said about time you got here, and visualize the other part of the universe as opposed to the third dimensional reincarnation part? Did you see that separation now? To get to that point? I mean, now we're talking like 7th or 8th dimensions of thought. 5th dimension, the revelation of it, right? But then actually entering and practicing and getting into the higher realms. I think John Lydia, I think he mapped out 11 dimensions as a neuroscientist, and his experiences in sensory deprivation, but enough to where there was an actual difference within those dimensions to be able to define them in that realm. But this again, what happens is if you have a yearning to try this out, and then it's the other part that's always the flip side is, and not really have a yearning. Just having both of them. You see, it's crazy, right? How all this stuff works is that you want to have the experience, but are you really going to have the experience in that aspect? And when you play both sides of the coin, it's a better chance to have the experience.
Yeah.
Right. It seems to be more of a chance than saying, okay, I'm going to have the experience, and without that other side and dealing with that other side would be less of a chance of having the experience. It's like doubt. Doubt is an interesting thing, and how it can stop you from doing these experiences, right? so
keep
that
you from
from being you.
From being
doubting. Okay, doubting. How could I ever get in the fifth dimension? What that's all about? Well, try it for a couple of days, folks, and see if it works for you, right? Because that's what's going on now on this planet, and like I was showing Paulie earlier. This thing about where we are now in the world, and then John Kennedy, and I think 61. I don't know where to put my phone. In 61, he had a really a big time executive order, that he signed.
Is that 62 something 273? Is that the one? Withdrawing the troops?
No. On June 4th, 1963, John F. Kennedy signed Executive Order 11110 to restore control of the money supply of the United States back to the people. With the stroke of a pen, JFK stripped the Federal Reserve of its power to loan money to the government at interest and declared that the privately owned Federal Reserve would soon be out of business. Within 5 years, he was killed, and Lyndon Johnson reversed the order. So in this, as we know, these guys who own the Federal Reserve banks aren't in Forbes. Okay. So in that realm, when you see that, and like what we're talking about, just what's going on in the States, and this struggle of acknowledgement or declarations or when are we going to finally say, yes, you are the alien, right? Look in the mirror, right? So all of these things that we have that are all going on now, that's in a metaphysical sense, which is interesting because they say whatever is going on in the future and whatever is going on in the past is all going on right now. And to comprehend that in itself. So, but when you had your experience, maybe that was something that you would comprehend. It's a wonderful thing.
When people go to the other side, right, they come back, they always say there's no time, no space.
Right, that's the fourth dimension. That's why we skip it and go straight to the fifth.
Because you can go back and forth. Because there's no. And it's just interesting, but when I came back and I started to understand the effects of a near-death experience on the experiencer, right, altruism,
right,
compassion,
right,
just a love for everybody and everything.
Yeah, because it's
what's
all
going
you.
on? It's all you.
It's all you.
And then remember you mentioned about functioning in a higher level of consciousness, and that just occurred to me like maybe about a couple of weeks ago when I was like, oh my gosh, Rand was telling me all about this before. You're operating at a, because I would always question what's up with this altruism,
Simshon.
What's up with the altruism? Why do I care so much? What is driving me? Because I had that experience,
right?
And when you have that experience and then you understand what we're here to do.
Right. Well, now you're living forever, and you're having all the knowledge of the universe. You're living in truth, and there's no gender, and we're all equal.
We're all equal.
And there's
And
no
it's all about
judgments.
love.
And then to get there, it's guaidza, guaidza,
It's
guaidza,
guaidza,
love,
guaidza,
love, love,
guaidza.
whatever
Yeah,
in your
yeah.
mother's ethnic language.
Yeah.
To get to that revelation. Yeah, and it's so simple.
Simple.
That's the thing about it. People maybe in the past in the struggle, but because of the ascension that the planet Earth is going through, is quite amazing. But if you go into Google or whatever and just do fifth dimension discovery, what this is, everything that we're talking about, you'll hear. The only differences that we see that's coming from the Marianas is naming that essence. Naming me being John, you being Shimshon. Yeah, and that aspect. So with that name of who you are in the fifth dimension and dealing with folks in that realm who are around you, you're free of fear and pain in the fifth dimension.
Right.
But the third dimension, you're still going to experience fear because you're going to have love, you're going to have pain because you're going to have bliss, and that's just understood now. And then to evolve to a point upon when you're leaving your body and you start realizing that yes, that there is a part of you that is in the body and vibrationally. One of the things, folks, that probably everybody's experienced is if you have that feeling of falling and then jerk and then wake up,
Yeah.
that's your astral body coming back into your physical body, but it travels at a faster vibration. And if it doesn't quite fit, you jerk and that puts it at ease. Or the other one, waking up with a headache and just going back to sleep for about 10 minutes and letting the body settle back into your body. That also is the techniques and these different things that almost everybody experienced, but they just didn't quite understand what it was all about. So do you have any reoccurring dreams, or do you have any in your experience of your mental alertness upon sleep? Do you? Or do
No, like for me, I don't worry. I don't worry as much like before. Or like when I used to ride the airplane.
Sure.
I fly.
Sure.
Turbulence would just nearly just kill me. My heart would race and pop out of my body. I'm scared, right?
Okay.
But today, I mean, turbulence and whatever doesn't scare me anymore. I'm totally like at peace.
Because you're already dead. That's the thing. If you live your life like you're already dead.
Yeah.
Wow,
doesn't
man.
matter. Yeah.
Yeah. No fear. Yeah. Come ahead, folks.
So whenever there's turbulence, now I'm just I'm smiling.
Okay,
it's
good.
like, it doesn't scare me anymore.
Yeah.
But that's a very interesting thing because heights and turbulence just totally tear me up.
Yeah.
But because of the things that I've experienced and putting all this stuff together now, it's complete surrender. I don't have any fear. And sometimes I have to explain to my wife because she doesn't understand this. Like, how can you be so calm? How can you be totally at ease with what's going on? And it's a wonderful experience, because
do the Tonight Show with her.
Huh? I'll show this with her. Yeah. I'll show this to her. But I'm totally at peace.
Yeah, no, and that peace is real.
Yeah.
Because it's authentic.
Yeah.
That oftentimes there's a line that's drawn that we can talk about all these kind of things and have these things, but is there authenticity to it? And authenticity comes out in the verbiage, maybe, or in the presence, or how that's when you see charismatic folks who are saying certain things, and is it believable? Or are you saying yes?
Yeah.
Do you believe what it is that they're saying? And in the fact checking, whatever resources you may go to, it may not be true, or it may be true. To people and how they're viewing things.
Like how you always say, guaidza, guaidza, guaidza.
Yeah, absolutely.
One of my favorite quotes is, laughter without love is cruel.
Yes.
Laughter without love is cruel. So I was like, oh my gosh, if you put love into anything, it's never cruel.
Yeah, right. Yeah, and that's very powerful because the love of laughter is everything. Because they say laughter is the best medicine. People who are going out, man, put on some comedies. Just don't show people flipping on their bicycles or crashing into trees and that crazy stuff. I don't know how the people enjoy watching that kind of stuff. Yeah, I go, ow, no.
I always have to have laughter, but you don't laugh at somebody
Yeah,
who's
no,
down,
yeah,
right?
no, yeah.
Because if you did,
yeah.
then
the
that's
laughter
cool,
is the love,
Yeah.
for
Yeah.
what it is, and that in itself often gives strength to the love. Because if especially if you have an experience like when you're having some pain because you just experienced some bliss and this duality, there you go. There's your laugh, and you're laughing along with whatever is occurring. So it's never powerful enough to take anything away from you
right.
in your higher consciousness. You're free of it. Is the aspect. Now when you define these things and in the aspects of Isaac Newton. For every action, there's an opposite and equal reaction. And you think about, okay, is that a material thing? Is that a spiritual thing? Is that something that crosses all boundaries? That you're in that state now where you're able to communicate. That realm. It's Isaac Newton is. Probably the smartest, and these guys, oftentimes, I know our guys in Cosmos, their whole thing was kind of based on Isaac Newton and his things. We hear a lot of quotes from Einstein, but when you start getting into the quotes about what this guy and perceiving, so they're multidimensional. All the knowledge of the universe is coming in them. They've tap that. And so the difference is now in their age is that now everybody's got it. Even though we think, wow, some people wouldn't think that, they're gathering it because you see them do things that you and yourself, you don't agree with, or you think it's silly or whatever. But the thing of it is that's you, the opposite of you. That's the duality, that you see people who are doing exactly the opposite thing that you do or that you think, and that's what makes up this third dimension. So you don't ever think that that's not you. Right, you never make the separation. Is the ball game. So, with people, like they talk about mental health, right? Mental health is something that can be fixed, and the way it looks like it's going to be fixed is through psychedelics, like mushroom therapy. I know that's going on in Colorado. Different therapy where you actually, it's we talk about, you don't want to get brainwashed. Well, maybe you do want to get brainwashed, in a good sense, right? You want to go in your brain and have it, waken up to a certain awareness of what else is going on in our universe, in your senses, in your visual, your auditory, your kinetic, all these from feelings that you have, that you experience it. I know, I was anticipating what it may be in working with people who are into addictions, right? That they see the benefit of being in a higher consciousness, and they see their addiction is just going to block that reality. Right? And so that is something, once that's initiated, because you think about what it is that stops addictions, it has to be something that's going to be either so much worse than the good feeling they get from the addiction, or it's going to have to be something that is so much more in another sense that's not addicting to have that awareness or waking up to it. So like what you talk about, like a near-death an out-of-body experience, and how that would change how you would approach things around you and how your life is.
Some of the out-of-body, I didn't experience that, but the other stuff, these are very transformational for some people,
Oh yeah, definitely.
Very transformational.
Yeah.
Like for me, for example, like I was trying to figure out why, what's up with all this, this wanting to help the world.
Yeah. No.
Where does this stuff come from?
Yeah.
Is this transferred from my DNA or
right? Yeah. No, absolutely.
Where did this come from?
Right.
So, when I was when I came back and I was working on my master's in counseling, they had you do the personality inventory, remember?
Yeah, sure.
And mine was real high on the altruism.
Okay.
And I was
okay.
like,
There you go. What's this? Where'd
this come from? I want to go around hugging everybody and,
no.
making peace with everybody. And
Yeah.
it's like, where did this come from?
Yeah.
And so, apparently it came from, experiencing something. And,
Yes. Yeah. Right.
And
yeah.
then understanding why
yeah.
we're here.
Altruism.
Altruism.
Yeah, that's wonderful. Yeah, my always thing, of going to the Northern Marianas is one white boy, right? Really clearly, I mean, guys, I would meet somebody, the guy would come and say, "Hey, man, wow, that's really a nice shirt, man. My shirt's off my back and it's on theirs." You know what I mean? That quick, and then we're lifelong friends.
Yeah.
You're lifelong friends. It's whatever, and whatever you see the spontaneity of the moment.
And you've experienced something like that too.
Well, that's
you see how
exactly.
it's easy for us to connect because we've kind of like ditched all our earthly understanding,
right?
with
we're off
ego and materialism.
You've had the experience.
Yeah,
you've had the fifth dimension experience, and then in that experience, then you start developing it and making it more solidified. First of all, and the most important is naming your essence in that space, and then that's you see it's an interesting thing. When a person becomes a priest, they get a new name. The Pope, person who's the Pope gets a new name. Mm-hmm. Everybody gets a new name, right? And that's what we're
like
talking
a symbol
about.
Of
well, that's the fifth dimension. It's just why keep it just to priests or monks or when I found this was interesting when I found out. That he was an Egyptian, and he died, and he was like the president or the prime minister he was running Egypt as this is kind of like in kind of modern times.
Modern
right?
times.
Yeah.
What year?
Oh,
was it
man,
Mubarak?
I'd say 60s or maybe 60s or
is
so.
that the one that was
70s.
assassinated?
But the thing of it is Nasser.
Yeah.
The people. The country would all chant Nasser, 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 Nasser like this. I mean, multitudes of people doing this.
He was the one that brought Israel to the peace table, right?
Right. Yeah. But the deal is that wasn't his name. You hear what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So in that aspect of, because they're saying that, he's not drawn to that. He doesn't have to be drawn. He can continue his journey out and away from this third dimension, because if he was named Nasser, he would be pulled back by that chant. Mm-hmm. That chant would hold him here. But that's when I saw that, when that was explained to me way back when, I go, whoa, I got it. I understand now. That when it's interesting. The Tibetan thing too is interesting. When you're passing, the Tibetan they kind of suggest not to have anybody in the room who's going to be really emotional.
Want you to come back.
Yeah. It's going to be more of a struggle to enter into the 49-day cycle of this, how they believe, of course, the reincarnation thing. But if you have that sense, that guidance of leaving or going out to someplace you've already been, is that idea. So that comfortability of death. So even going out and being terminally ill, that psychedelics again go into it, like they're talking this therapy that they're doing in Colorado, I think licensed, that they have that ability to have that sense. Or chamomile. And that seems to be something pretty prevalent. I mean, Elon Musk, the second richest guy in the world now, right? His catamine experiences, which are pretty much out-of-body experiences, induced by chemicals, and whether or not and how that gets you any type of a benefit other than the understanding of kind of how this universe.
Well, he's working. A heavy risk taker, right? So
well, that's why he's got so much money, right? No,
but maybe because it's that he knows, with the out of body experience or those types of trips that he's on, he knows that. The real meaning of life, right? So
into that realm, because he's experiencing it, and through the chemical.
Right.
But this is, when you think about like as a counselor, right? Counseling, you talk about it. You give the individual who you're counseling the opportunity to
explore,
express
and explore.
Right.
There, by the way, can I do a shout out to my daughter?
Yeah, of course.
She's leaving to Boston.
Oh, wow.
She's a school counselor at Notre Dame.
Oh,
and
wow.
I guess they chose her to go,
wow.
go to Boston,
Sure.
or Boston or Ohio,
Okay.
one of those. And she's She's going to a convention for counselors and
Oh,
stuff.
wow.
She followed my footsteps.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Yeah, so I just want to say hi, Isa.
Yeah, no way.
You know,
Is
so
she at
she's-
the airport or she?
I think she left this morning,
Okay.
or so she's
Man,
heading
you
out.
got to send her the Tonight Show.
Yeah, I'm gonna-
they blow her away.
Hey,
Yeah, no,
yeah.
try this. I mean, because see, this is like from the Marianas,
Mm-hmm.
and the Marianas, the phenomena of the Marianas, it gives that opening to have a very strong impression on whoever is introduced to anything from the Marianas. You know, as we well know, you know, this phenomena, these humans teaching humans how to be human. It was on. I think Paulie was talking about it earlier too on the show that it or who, no, it was. I think it was one of the senators or into that aspect of how we're communicating. You know, on this higher level, coming from the Marianas, because this is, I know diversification here. How many people we have and how everybody's welcome, Milans and Mocha, but not only Milans and Mocha, just Fatatsan, because the food's it's already there. You know, the food's already on the table. To have an awakening experience. But that is like when we talk about what goes on in the States, or having people who are immigrants or not being welcome. That's not the case within the Marianas and the open arms, even to the point of you have a whole opening arms to the military arriving, and then you have a whole opening arms of no, we don't want the military arriving. You know, that's as to what extent. Like we're up in Rhoda, right? And there was a C5A, not a C5A, KC-135, and there was a group of about 9 Air Force guys, and they were having an open house. They were showing the plane, and what I heard, and pretty much they're going to expand the runway, is the idea, but they're not making a base. You know, my prayer was no base, but open up the Rhoda Resort and run it for your R&R. You know, you can play golf, you can go hunting, you can go deep sea scuba diving, you go fishing. You got the whole ball game here in this pristine place, and you can put all your electronics in one room, and then have somebody, an information officer, if something important comes across, of course. But in the meantime, you know, you're free of all these things, and you're having this R&R. Mostly, you know, would be probably even single family, the whole ball game, you know, could enjoy that within the Marianas. The military is an interesting thing into the aspect of our service and what we saw. I was lucky enough to understand what was going on, that everything the drill instructor was doing was in a manual.
You mean all that yelling?
Yeah, all that yelling was in a manual, right? You know, and so upon understanding that, right. Made me very comfortable, you know, to be able to help people, the other recruits or whatever, to get through the 6 weeks, you know, that we went through. But that in itself was something that is somebody who wouldn't have that thought of understanding that all that thing and taking it personally, you know, the personal attack. And what I saw was the island boys, the guys from Samoa, the guys, you know, from the Marianas, the Hawaiian guys, all these guys, they had the strong original spirit that didn't get along with somebody yelling at them. Right? Yeah. And then oftentimes there's an extra 2 weeks or something like that they would have to experience in the basic training. But it was this really strong original spirit that is well within the Marianas, you know, and it's something.
It comes from respeto, eh?
Yeah,
right?
No, the depths,
yeah.
the depths of it, you know, which the R&H, the respect to and the hospitality, right? You know, the that hospitality is what blows everybody away, you know, because they don't see it anywhere except here, and the only reason it would be that is because the full revelation of there's no separation of people. You know, the open adopted as a Caucasian, being adopted by a Chamorro family, right, and feeling you know, just as comfortable as your siblings, the brothers and sisters of that family. You know, because of what you've sensed, and the beauty, and I always see it.
I got in trouble for something.
Oh yeah, you got in trouble.
When it was basically, I don't know if I told you.
Okay,
this.
no.
You know, when it was there, you know, we had our first go to the shop at like, and
Oh.
so I walked in there and I bought some socks, and I bought me one, and I bought my cousin one. 'Cause
Okay.
we happened to be there at Fort Benning together.
Okay.
And the drill sergeant came up to me. He goes, "I saw what you did. Is that guy bullying you?
Oh, wow. Okay.
Is he
Yeah,
bullying you to
yeah,
tell
to buy
I was
the
like,
socks?
bullying me?
Yeah.
No, he's my cousin. He's my elder.
Oh,
So
so
I
respect.
just give him
Yeah.
a little something. And
Sure.
it was funny how the drill sergeant approached me. He goes, "Is that guy bullying you?"
Yeah, well-
because I actually gave him some stuff.
Yeah.
and-
Well, you thought there was something that you had
yeah,
to do.
but it's
because
just
you know-
respect. right?
Yeah. No.
respect,
No.
too.
Absolutely. But again, how it's seen.
Yeah.
But into the realm of what we see within the communities in the states of the Chamorro communities and the and
we're
the festivals.
taking care of each other.
Yeah,
Right,
and how strong that is. And then you see Marshallese who are working in a chicken farm or something like that, and then like 20 miles away there's a Marshallese store,
Right.
a Micronesian store with all the Micronesian products, that everybody likes, all in the store. So they'll drive the 20 miles
To go.
to that store, within these communities. And so there are islands, kind of within the islands. But the beauty and the strength that I saw upon coming here was this humanness and teaching humans how to be human. And how we mention it throughout our community, and when you have that feeling, when you have that half a day, that you're in the right place, right, and that whatever it is that you're doing is the right thing to do. Right, and that's the authenticity. That's where it comes, and as opposed to having confusion about where we are, no matter what stage of life we can be experiencing. It seems to me that everybody pretty much knows what it is they should be doing, as opposed to not.
Yeah.
And then if in fact you don't have that ability to understand that, that's where your therapeutic approach, like from Colorado, and hallucinogenic, to have some kind of out of body or an expression of beyond our physical senses, to really grasp how much more is going on than what we're doing sitting here in the studio. to that realm, right? And to be able to do it with licensed therapists in a situation that's conducive to having people wake up to that point. In meditation, is the same kind of thing. We have this wonderful approaches in meditation to get into that realm, the oneness, to be able to reduce everything to one thing. My easiest is that breathing, the glides in, the glides out, the glides in.
I love
out.
that.
Yeah, well,
I love that.
just
Yeah.
trying it,
Yeah.
right? Just when you lay down or anytime.
No, anywhere. I'm driving and
there you go.
And
You're breathing?
It's there's traffic. Guides.
Yeah. But into the aspect of not to release or the pressure of any anxiety, in that, the easiest way to do that, the interesting thing, there's one place on your body, Dwayne, to massage that gets rid of all your anxiousness, all your worries, and all your anger. You know where it is?
Where?
Your middle toe.
Middle toe.
Your middle toe.
It's a pressure point.
You just rub it, okay? Maybe put a little oil. And whichever foot is a little bit more tender, spend more time on that foot.
It'll go away.
Now, where do we show our anger, our worry, and our anxiety? The middle finger.
Oh.
So out it comes.
Yeah.
That's an obscene gesture to that point, that we do that. If we did that in an inappropriate thing, we could get arrested as giving an obscene gesture. So in that aspect, to remove all that anger, all that anxiety, is through your body and come out your middle toe. That's an Ayurvedic. That's like 5,000-year-old stuff, right?
I'll try that.
Well, do it with your wife. You do her, she does yours.
Oh,
right? Yeah.
Do that on her and see what happens.
Yeah. She'll be all that tenseness of upcoming experiences, would be relieved. So I know we're getting closer.
We almost there?
We got about 3 minutes for our first hour. What we can do when we come back, we can go through some of these exercises.
What if I leave the building?
I'll be right beside you. Don't worry. Don't worry.
What do we both?
We'll hold hands,
do the
Dwayne.
show, yeah.
We'll hold hands. Yeah, don't worry. Don't worry. Yeah, don't you have fear of heights? You got over the fear of heights.
Yeah.
So now it's not a problem. Standing on the outside of the building, those glass little cubes, looking down, right? That's a trip. That'll tingle you for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, no. That's an interesting thing. They say the reason why we have a fear of heights is because we had a death. One of our many deaths, I guess, in reincarnation from falling.
Yeah.
Right?
I was terrified, with the rappelling, when I was in the Army.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Oh,
So
yeah?
I go back up and the drill sergeant, what are you doing? I was like, I'm trying to conquer my fear.
Oh, okay.
Let me do this again.
Oh, good. Oh, good. Oh, I see.
Yeah, so I
okay.
go up again.
Yeah. No. Well, good for you. Yeah. No. It's overcoming fears is facing it.
Yeah.
That's
Just face it.
That's the ball game. That's what if something's chasing you in a nightmare, you just turn around and face it, and it'll become your friend. Yeah. Right. That's what you do, right?
I have to take that advice because
Okay.
I always, you were asking about reoccurring dreams earlier. I'll make this fast because I know
Please,
we're
no,
coming to the top.
no. We got infinity, forever.
You're right. So there's this one reoccurring dream I have where I'm on a bus with people I know. We went to school together, but we're all at the age we are now, which is like 30, right? And then we go to then we hear there's a murderer on the bus, and we all run out of the bus and go into this massive mansion. And we're all chilling, and all of a sudden, the murderer's in the mansion. So we're running from the mansion, and then every time, there's always the murderer right after me. And I'm like, what's going on here? Wait for me on the bus. But I like that, because now I'm going to turn around and be like, hey, what's up?
Yeah.
You okay?
Give me a hug. I love you.
I know. Come over here. What you doing?
Yeah.
No, that's it.
That's a good one. I'm going to tell myself
fears,
that.
Yeah. Okay. There you go. Okay, so CBS News, are we going to face our fears?
Always.
Okay, so we're ready to do it, or we got another minute and a half?
Oh, we can do it. We can do it.
Let's do it. We'll be
All
right
right.
back after the CBS News. Thank you.
KGUM FM. Daddy No. The talk of Guam is Wave 105 FM.
This is CBS News on the Hour, sponsored by Progressive Insurance.
I'm Michael Toscano. The state of Utah plans to seek the death penalty for the murder of political activist Charlie Kirk. That from Governor Spencer Cox, as pictures and video of the suspect were released this past evening. More on that from CBS's Jennifer Kuiper.
The FBI has released new photos of the person of interest in Charlie Kirk's killing.
We want to make sure that they get as much attention as possible so that we can get help from the public in tracking down this evil human being.
Utah Governor Spencer Cox adds,
This is not just a local matter here in Utah. We have people all over the country that are helping to bring this perpetrator to justice for Charlie Kirk and his family.
Vice President J.D. Vance had Kirk's body flown home to Arizona aboard Air Force Two. Jennifer Kuiper, CBS News.
Correspondent Carter Evans visited Utah Valley University the day after the assassination.
It was eerie going back onto campus. You could see inside classrooms where kids had used desks and chairs to barricade the doors, and it looks like they all left in a rush. You could see backpacks strewn on the floor. Looks like some students were eating their lunch. It's still open on their desks.
The former bodyguard for New Orleans Mayor LaToya Cantrell is scheduled to appear in federal court Friday. CBS's Katie Weiss reports Jeffrey Vappy faces corruption charges, including conspiracy to commit wire fraud and conspiracy to obstruct justice.
According to the indictment against him, Vappy took several steps to conceal his relationship with the mayor and misuse taxpayer money for that affair, including that he allegedly lied to a grand jury about what took place.
Mayor Cantrell has pleaded not guilty in federal court to criminal charges. In Chicago, the Hispanic community is wrestling with how to celebrate Mexican Independence Day this weekend. This as the Department of Homeland Security launched an operation cracking down on undocumented immigrants in the city. WBBM Radio's Andy Dane reports.
This year, the stakes are higher. Our community is under attack.
City of Chicago leaders say they are keeping a close eye on a number of events planned throughout the city for this weekend. That includes several Mexican Independence Day festivals, parades, and as the city has seen in recent years, potential for car caravans. Some organizers have opted to cancel their events, citing an expected increase in ICE presence. Others are promising historic turnouts.
They are trying to dim our light. They're trying to dim our culture.
Andy Dane for CBS News, Chicago.
Brazil's Supreme Court panel has convicted former President Bolsonaro to more than 27 years in prison. He was convicted of attempting a coup to remain in office despite losing his re-election bid in the 2022 election. This is CBS News.
Progressive Insurance, with insurance for cars, home, boat, motorcycles, RVs, and commercial vehicles at 1-800-PROGRESSIVE and Progressive.com.
Hey, it's Ryan Reynolds here from Mint Mobile. Now, I was looking for fun ways to tell you that Mint's offer of unlimited premium wireless for $15 a month is back. So I thought it would be fun if we made $15 bills. But it turns out that's very illegal. So there goes my big idea for the commercial.
Visit mintmobile.com/radio.
Upfront payment of $45 for 3-month plan, equivalent to $15 per month required. New customer offer for first 3 months only. Speed slow after 35 gigabytes if network's busy. Taxes and fees extra. See mintmobile.com.
Do you hear that? Asthma triggers are everywhere. From dust mites, pet dander, and pollen, to smog and smoke. An asthma attack can strike anywhere, anytime. Be prepared with quick-acting Primatene Mist. Clinically proven to open airways quickly. It's the #1 FDA-approved asthma inhaler available over the counter. Primatene Mist. Breathe easy again. Use as directed.
Cracker Barrel is looking ahead to its future by going back to the past.
At Cracker Barrel, come together for the good stuff.
Cracker Barrel has announced on social media some of that good stuff. Its beloved biscuits will once again be rolled by hand and baked fresh throughout the day. It's the latest about face after aggressive backlash over planned changes that included a logo revamp and a do-over of its down-home vintage decor in favor of a minimalist modern look. The company says it's also walking back its policies related to social justice issues and will no longer sponsor events not directly related to business needs, including pride events. Deborah Rodriguez, CBS News.
Social Security beneficiaries could see a 2.7% cost of living adjustment in 2026, slightly above the 2.5% increase for 2025. That's from the Senior Citizens League based on the August inflation figures. Michael Toscano, CBS News.
Using that brain power. Wave 105 FM.
One pill can kill. Fake pills often contain fentanyl. It only takes 2 milligrams of fentanyl, equivalent to a few grains of salt, to be lethal. Fake pills are often sold on social media platforms, making them available to anyone with a smartphone.
Talk early and often to youth about the dangers of misusing prescription drugs and the lethal dangers of counterfeit drugs laced with fentanyl.
Stay informed, stay safe. One pill can kill.
This public service announcement is brought to you by the radio stations of Glimpses Media Group, Wave 105 FM and Power 98.
The views and opinions expressed in this show are that of the show hosts, guests, and callers. They do not necessarily reflect the views and opinions of the staff and management of Wave 105 FM, Glimpses Media, or any of our partners. As we strive to provide quality, respectful, and engaging content, we welcome you to participate in the conversation. Thank you for tuning in to Wave 105 FM, the sound of Guam. Enjoy the show.
Half a day, Guahan, and good evening. Welcome back here to Edge of Heaven on Wave 105.1 FM. We, of course, want to thank our friends over there at BKU Roll. Don't forget to check them out, our friends at Burger King today. They're taking care of you. You can vote for them for Pika's the best, and while you're eating your Whopper. So go and get yours today at your favorite BK location in Hagåtña, Tumon, the Micro Mall, and the airport.